Hey everyone, it's Inigo here and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to make a video on verb type 1 verbs. I did already make a video on verb type 1 verbs, but it wasn't quite perfect and I actually forgot to say something in the video, so I thought it would be good to make it again. Verb types in the Finnish language, all verbs are put into types or groups, and this helps you identify the verbs, put them into the groups and then use them depending on the groups that they're in. Might sound a little bit complicated, and I did make a video previously on verb types, so if you're not too familiar with what they are, go check that video out. But if you are learning Finnish, hopefully this is at least familiar to you. Verb type 1 verbs, which we are talking about in this video, all of those end in 2 vowels. All verbs in the Finnish language in the basic form end in the letter A. So all verb type 1 verbs will end in any vowel plus an A. Okay, so that's how you identify a verb type 1 verb. It will end in 2 vowels and that last vowel will always be an A. So I've got a few different examples. There's an unlimited, or not unlimited, but there's a large combination of endings, and it could literally be any vowel plus an A. So I've got some examples to kind of show you how that looks. So ottaa, lukea, katsoa, kysyä, oppia, nukkua, löytää, and tietää. Löytää and tietää, those I didn't actually add to the previous video, and are kind of why I'm making it again. The basic rule on how to use verb type 1 verbs applies still, but these two are slightly different. So hopefully you can see those how those work, these kind of verb type 1 verbs. To identify them, there's 2 vowels and then a T and then 2 vowels at the end. So löytää, tietää is vowels, 2 vowels, a T and then 2 vowels at the end. That's how you identify them, and I'll kind of talk about them a little bit later to show how they are the same, but they're worth noting. So I've got the word ottaa, which is to take in the Finnish language, and I've put it into a few different forms to kind of show you what using verb type 1 verbs looks like. I should point out there is something called korpeate vaihtelu, which is used in the Finnish language. Typically a basic form of a word will be stronger, and when you use the word, you'll change it slightly and maybe put on a different ending, and in this case it will be softer. In this case, ottaa, there's 2 T's in ottaa in the basic form. When you make it softer, all you do is remove a T. In other cases, there might be a word that has 1 T and you'll change the T to a D. So when you use korpeate vaihtelu, typically what will happen is you remove, there will be 2 consonants together and you remove one, or there will be 1 consonant on its own and you might change it to a softer consonant. So that's what korpeate vaihtelu is briefly. Although go and watch a video on that, or go look that up online if you're not too sure what that is. That will happen in this case, and I'll go through ottaa to show you. So the basic form of the verb is ottaa. When you use that and put personal endings on to say who's doing the taking, it will look like this. This is also the present tense. So in Finnish there is no future tense. So present tense can be used for now, present, and also future. So bear that in mind. So to start, we've got minä otan, sinä otat, hän ottaa, me otamme, te otatte, and he ottavat. So these are all of the different kind of variations of ottaa in the present positive case. The general rule when you use it in this case, the verb ends in 2 A's or 2 vowels, but it will always end in an A. When you use a verb type 1 verb that ends in 2 vowels, you take away that last A and then you put on your personal ending after that. This is basically the case in all of them, maybe apart from hän, but I'll explain how hän works. You can see also that hän and he versions of ottaa have 2 T's. This means that they're stronger, they're in the stronger form, and the hän and the he version will always be strong. So this is something to kind of look out for when you're using Finnish. Hän and he versions will be strong, and all of the others will be soft, what that looks like in this case is just one T instead of two, so we've removed a T. With the Han version, you'll also see that there's two A's rather than one. What happens when you use the Han version is you still remove that last vowel, so an A, and you'll be left with one vowel, which in this case is also an A. And then with that last vowel remaining, you simply double it. So in this case, it says Han otta, which is just coincidentally the same as the basic verb. But you might have a verb like katsoa, which is to look. And with katsoa, it ends in an O and an A. And if you use the Han version, it will be Han katso. So you've doubled the O. So you remove that last A and you've got an O at the end. You double that O, Han katso. So that's basically how you use the Han version in verb type 1 in the present positive case. So this is all present positive verb type 1. Next we'll go on to the negative present and future present tense. So we've got mina en otta, sina et otta, han ei otta, me emme otta, te ette otta, and he eivät otta. So you can see in this case the otta is the same for every version. What differentiates these different versions is that we've added the word a, which means no. We've put that before the verb, and instead of putting our personal endings on the end of otta, so in the previous one we said mina otan, which means I take, and the n is on the end of otta to show that I'm the actor. Well, instead of putting the n on the end of otta, in this case, you put it on the end of a, which is no, which kind of highlights it's a negative. So to kind of talk about this a little bit further, it was han ei otta, and han ei otta, that a is just in the basic form, a is the basic word, but in all the other cases you put the personal ending on the end of a, and then you just use otta. So all of these cases, all of these versions of otta in this case are exactly the same. They're all the softer version, and you're differentiating who's doing something by putting the personal ending on the end of a, which goes before the verb. Next, we'll go to the past tense, so imperfecti. This will be the positive imperfecti. So the basic verb again is otta. You'll say mina otin, sina otit, han otti, me otimme, te otitte, and he ottivat. So in this case, you can see with the previous positive case, we've got a strong for han and we've got a strong for he. In this case, han's vowel, previously it was doubled. In this case, it just stays single. So han otti, han otti. So han and he are both strong. You can also see that we had an A at the end. We've now swapped it for an I, and this this shows that it's in the past tense. So typically when you're using the past tense, you'll try and add an I in somewhere to show that it's the past tense. An A in the Finnish language is relatively weak, and so A's will be removed with an I. But if you have kind of round vowels like an O or an U or a O, U or Y, O, U, U, all of those are strong and those will stay. And instead of swapping them with an I, you put the I afterwards. So again, you could use the verb katsoa. You would say mina katsoin, mina katsoin. So instead of swapping the O for an I, you just add the I on the end, and then you put the personal ending after that. So that's how you do the past positive. But I do want to go over one of the verbs that I spoke about previously, which is louta. This is to find. So louta, this kind of looks a little bit different in the past tense. So in the present tense, you'll use a korpete vaihtelu. So for example, you would say mina loudan. You remove the last A as you would with otta, and you swap the T for a D, which is korpete vaihtelu. So this follows the same rule and is quite self-explanatory. The only reason why it's worth pointing out is because the d in the past tense will swap for a c. So instead of saying mina lodan in the present tense, you'll say mina lo sin, mina lo sin. The same with mina tiedan, so tieta, mina tiedan, mina tiesin. Okay, so all of the verbs in this verb type that have two vowels, a T, and then two vowels. So loda has two vowels, a T, two A's. Tieta, I-E-T, and two A's, or R's. Tieta. These are kind of slightly different to the other verb type 1 verbs, and it's worth kind of remembering those. I actually forgot to add these to the original video, so hence why I'm doing it again. So those will be slightly different. The basic principle is the same. You remove the last A and then you change it after that. But in the past tense, the d ending will change to a C, S-I. Okay, so these are all the imperfecti positive. And then we'll go to imperfecti negative. So otta is the basic verb again. Minä en ottanut, sinä et ottanut, hän ei ottanut, me emme ottaneet, te ette ottaneet, he eivät ottaneet. So again, in all of these cases, you remove the last A. They're all strong in this case as well. So in this form, they're all strong. And this will look the same in the perfecti tense and the plusvamperfecti tense, which is like I have taken or I had taken. I haven't added these just to kind of keep it as simple as possible. But these are all strong. They've all got double T's. The difference is, again, instead of just having A, you add the personal endings on the end of A, instead of adding them on the end of otta. And also, in all of the singular versions, you've got nut, so otta nut. And in all of the plural versions, so me, te, and he, you've got ottaneet. This is a rule that occurs across all verbs in the Finnish language, and again will happen in the perfecti and the plusvamperfecti tenses, which would translate to I have taken or I had taken. So this is how all verb type 1 verbs will look. Hopefully that is clear. It's probably clearer than my previous video. Thank you for kind of watching to this point. I have been a little bit slow. I have already made my video for verb type 2, but I realised after making it that I wanted to change verb type 1 video, so hence why I'm making it again. I will upload this as soon as possible and then upload the second one, and I hope to make verb type 3 as soon as possible. I'm not making videos as kind of quickly as I would like to. It's quite nice weather outside, and yeah, I'm kind of, it's not my priority, let's say, but I am really keen on making the videos, and I really appreciate people watching, and I hope it's helpful. So again, thank you for watching, and I hope to see you again soon.